One of the greatest challenges when we get snagged by shame is forgiveness. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others. Dr. Kirsten Neff, in her groundbreaking research on self-compassion, found that self-compassion was key to building shame resilience. I believe there is no greater compassion than forgiving self and forgiving others. Medical research is discovering that somewhere in the vicinity of 70% of cancers are rooted in unforgiveness, which produces the emotion of bitterness. Even our biology, not only our ability to move through shame, benefits from our forgiveness. Forgiveness is a power move. Forgiveness is not weak. It is not for the faint-hearted. Desmond Tutu said of forgiveness that it is the noblest strength of the human spirit. It is saying, this is God's child, and I will not participate in their losing their humanity in my eyes. Forgiveness pulls on the noble, the honourable in us, and therein is the challenge when we are in shame. While the shame narratives are busy screaming at us, you are not enough, you are bad, forgiveness confronts and intrudes into that story. It reminds us there is more to us than this one debilitating emotion, than that painful experience. We are more than what shame says. This is the power move of forgiveness. We see in the Bible that forgiveness restores broken relationships and precedes healing. In fact, forgiveness is a key feature in the Lord's Prayer. In Genesis 50, there is the story of Joseph, who was betrayed and sold into slavery by his brothers. That is some serious stuff to process. We pick up the story some years later when Joseph has become the second in charge of the ruling world power of the day, Egypt. In verse 14 it says, after burying his father, Joseph went back to Egypt. All his brothers who had come with him to bury his father returned with him. After the funeral, Joseph's brothers talked amongst themselves, what if Joseph is carrying a grudge and decides to pay us back for all the wrong we have done to him? So they sent Joseph a message. Before his death, your father gave this command. Tell Joseph, forgive your brother's sin, all that wrongdoing. They did treat you badly. Will you forgive the sins of the servants of your fathers? When Joseph received the message, he wept. Forgiveness freed Joseph into another perspective other than seeing the wrong and the shame. It freed him to a bigger picture. In verse 19, it says, and Joseph replied, do not be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see? You planned evil for me, but God used those same plans for my good, as you see all around you right now, life for many people. Joseph acknowledges here that he is not God to judge and condemn his brothers. This is amazing in light of Egyptian culture of that day that held man, Pharaoh particularly, a god. Joseph remembered who he was and who he wasn't. He was human, not God. He also saw something larger than emotion, the emotion of shame and hurt. He refused to let the offense from that experience become his identity and determine his values. Though he had been a victim of jealousy and betrayal, he chose not to make victim his mindset or his identity. Forgiveness was his power move. Life happens. Life is not neat and controllable like we'd like it to be. People are complicated. Stuff happens. We will be shamed and shame. We will make mistakes and be wronged and betrayed by others. There will be disappointment. Forgiveness is God's gift to us to navigate our way through that. We need forgiveness and we need to forgive. So how do we walk it? Acknowledge the hurt that happened. Don't numb it. Don't rationalize it away. You got hurt. It's okay to say, I'm hurt. Make a decision to do something with that hurt. It's so easy to put it in the back burner and numb or rationalize it away. Do something about it. Make a choice to forgive. Forgiveness is not something that you do when you feel it. It's a cognitive choice to acknowledge your hurt and heal. It is a choice for honoring yourself, for bringing nobility into the picture. Honor and nobility have nothing to do with feelings. Not all of life is about feelings. You are not your feelings. They are not your identity. They are indicators about what you need in the business of life. Forgiving doesn't mean you have to trust the person, or even at this point consider relationship with them. This is simply about freeing yourself through forgiveness. I remember a few years ago a friend who is a counselor saying to me that she exists because people struggle with forgiveness. If they forgave, she wouldn't have a job. When I choose to forgive, I process it first with God. And this is a model we use. You may have another and that's fine.